What's up guys, welcome back to a new video. Today's video is all about the do's and the don'ts after you just overate, which is a pretty decent topic this time of year because Thanksgiving, Christmas, and today is actually New Year's Eve. So overeating just might happen today, later this week, and a lot of people tend to be in a state of overeating quite a lot this time of year. So I feel like it just makes sense to do a video on the whole topic of overeating and what should you do after you just went over calories quite drastically or not quite drastically. Just to kind of give you guys some advice, show you guys things that I personally do to help you guys out as much as I possibly can. So again, today is actually going to be a video about what you're going to do after you already did it. So if you want me giving you guys tips on how to prevent it, actually go to one of my previous videos where I actually talked about basically how to still eat a pretty decent dinner without going over your calories for the day. So if you guys want to watch that video, make sure to check it in one of these two corners. I always tend to forget which one of the two it is. Anyway, one of the two it will be. So, overeating, preventing it basically. Now, first of all, actually, before going into this whole video, I kind of assume that when you watch the video, you're kind of tracking macros, because if you don't track macros and calories, well, you are probably not on some kind of calorie goal slash restriction or anything. So how do you know they overate? You probably don't. So yeah, and also like any of the solutions that I'm allowed to give you are really not going to work unless you actually track your calories. So yeah, that's basically kind of an assumption that I made before starting off this video. So yeah, the thing is, the normal thing that people think you should do after you went over calories is compensating the next day. Now, this is kind of a general thing that people think you should do. Now, for the majority of cases, it will work, definitely. I mean, if you just go over calories, you just take off the next day, and your body simply will use the surplus of the previous day to fuel your deficit for the next day, and that works in the vast majority of the cases. However, there are some things that you have to keep in mind when you actually want to do that kind of approach. So first of all, is it always the best option? No. Especially for, like, let's just take a person who eats about 1,500 calories a day. Yes, those people obviously exist. And let's say that person eats about 3,000 calories on Christmas Eve. Now, what do you want to do the next day? Like, literally just like eat nothing the next day, because eating 3,000 calories on one day and then nothing on the second day means that I ate 1,500 calories in 2 days. Does it make sense? It makes sense, but is it healthy? No, obviously not. I mean, fasting, there are some benefits to it, but like doing that kind of compensation is just not really what you want to do. And second thing, if you had a surplus that is outrageous, like let's take a person that eats about 2,000 calories on a day-to-day basis, right? The kind of average person, I would say, that maybe starts training or whatever. Let's say that person eats 3,000 calories on Christmas Day or on New Year's Eve. If that person was to compensate for all those calories, that would mean that he would eat about 1,000 calories the next day or 1,500 calories the next 2 days. Again, is it healthy? No, because eating less than 2,000 calories a day, assuming that you train and assuming that you have a kind of active lifestyle, isn't healthy. Like, I don't have to explain it to you. I mean, it is quite difficult to get your fucking macronutrients and protein and the kind of stuff in on the very limited amount of calories. So in that case, compensating for the massive binge the previous day probably isn't going to be that good of an option. Now, the mistake that a lot of people make actually is to still do it. Now, a lot of people, maybe they will just massively compensate the next day, again, putting themselves in a ridiculously big deficit the next day. And what a lot of people will end up being in is a cycle of overeating. The next day, you'll eat nothing because you overate the previous day. And the second day, because you eat like literally no food, what's gonna happen? Like, the next day, you're gonna be hungry. When you're hungry, the chances of you going over calories once again are increased, which means you probably go over the next day again. Then the next day, you will be like, I kind of overeat yesterday, so, you know, why not just do the same thing that I did a couple of days ago, again, once again, putting yourself in a pretty big deficit, and then the next day, what's gonna happen? The same thing. You're gonna be hungry, you're gonna be just not in a very good mood, and basically you're gonna end up in this cycle of binge eating, starving, and it's just not a very good thing to do. So the question is, what should you do? Because obviously me just saying this thing isn't gonna help you at all. So what should you do? Now, the solution actually is one of two things. The first thing, and it's gonna be quite nice to hear for some people, however, let me explain to you what I mean with it. The first thing to do is do nothing, which is very counterintuitive for a lot of people, but let me explain to you. Assuming that you hit your macros and your calories and you are good with your diet the majority of the year, is one day going to do like damage your physique or harm you in any way? Reality is probably not. I mean, one day of over consuming, especially if you're on very low calories, isn't gonna do you anything. Like, it really isn't. Like, especially if you are like bulking or maintaining, one day isn't gonna do shit. So if you go over calories drastically, the next day just go right back to what you used to be. Go back to what you were used to eating the next day and just go on with your life, because we all make mistakes, and one day, quite frankly, is not gonna throw you off the wagon that much, right? Now, before you guys are all gonna be very euphoric and being like, well, I can just overeat whenever I want to and just not really do anything about it, the whole thing of doing nothing only works if you're doing it once every couple of months, right? On your birthday, Christmas, New Year's, maybe someone else's birthday, maybe a party here and there, then it works. The downside of it, and people don't usually keep this in mind, is if you do it too much, that's not a good thing. Because once again, you're gonna end up in a cycle where you're gonna overeat, the next day you do nothing, and you're gonna start telling yourself like, well, I can just do this all the time, right? Not do anything about it, don't compensate, and you're gonna get fat over a long period of time, right? Don't do that, right? Again, it only works when you don't do it a lot, right? Just don't do anything for like, I mean, if it happens once a year, again, it's not gonna do you anything, right? Then the second thing is going to be to compensate for only a part of your calories. So let's say Christmas Day, you have a very good dinner, right? It's all good. You had a lot of chocolate, you had a lot of sugars, a lot of food and all that kind of good stuff. And you went over calories, right? Maybe the next day, you could go for a walk and don't compensate for that in your calories. You could go for a jog. You could go and train legs to, first of all, burn more calories for your workout, and second, get all those sugars and all those fucking good stuff in your legs. Do some very hard workout where you actually will need those sugars and just use them in a proper way to train legs, to get rid of your skinny legs for once, right? So basically the next day, just expend a bit more, not a crazy amount, just like a couple hundred calories, and that's pretty much gonna be it, right? And I would personally probably do that, because doing nothing, especially if you have like a lot of calories, just might make you feel a bit bad. You know what I mean? Just kind of compensate for something, but like not everything, if that makes sense. But yeah, the main thing here, if it comes to this whole video, is like consistency beats intensity pretty much all the time. I mean, you can literally like fuck up like a couple times a year, compensate for it mildly, and assuming that you do the right things the majority of the year, it's not gonna be fine. Like, if you do this whole fitness thing for like a long period of time, even if you have a couple fuck ups, like at the end of the day, if you do it for a long time, that's gonna be the main thing. Consistency beats intensity all the time. Doing something that isn't ideal is gonna be better for you than doing the absolute ideal thing in the long run, because usually the ideal thing is not something that you're gonna stick to. The adherence is gonna be very, very low. But I feel like that is kind of lesson of like the entire thing if it comes to training, all that kind of stuff. Just choose something that you can kind of adhere to the most time of year, and that's gonna be the main thing. So yeah, I think this is my whole ramble on this whole kind of topic. I wrote something out, but I kind of went off it for the majority of the time of the video. So yeah, pretty much gonna be the entire video for you guys. I'm probably gonna do like a bit more of these like talk, sit down videos with you guys, because one, they're very easy to make, and two, like it is kind of a very busy time of the year for me. So if you guys have any more topics that you would like me to talk about, leave it down in the comment section below. And yeah, this is probably gonna be the video for today. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you guys have any more video suggestions, video ideas or tips to improve my content, leave it down below. And yeah, like and subscribe. And for now, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next video later this week. We're gonna smash it in 2021, right? See you guys later, and enjoy your evening, enjoy your night, and as always, the camera turn away. Latest.